After 17 years, they eliminated my position, my boss stated plainly. Clean out your desk by the end of the day. My name is Violet Hayes, 54 years old, and until that morning, I was the senior data architect at Stellar Innovations in San Francisco, California. For almost 2 decades, I had been the core of the data department, from the early server days to advanced cloud solutions. 4 CEOs had come and gone while I remained, training every new hire, recovering every lost data set, and working through countless late nights without ever seeking a promotion or recognition. When Mr. Harrison summoned me to his office with Ms. Chen from HR already seated, I sensed the shift in the atmosphere. I understood completely, I said, nodding once. I exited without another word. No anger, no pleas, just quiet acceptance. Back at my desk, I observed younger colleagues glance my way, then quickly avert their eyes to their screens. News travels swiftly. Most of them were data scientists I had personally mentored, bright individuals, but they had no comprehension of what was truly embedded within our systems or how the legacy architecture functioned. None of them could navigate the proprietary algorithms I had developed or the admin credentials secured 3 layers deep in every system. I began meticulously packing my personal belongings. A family photograph, my favorite tea mug, the small succulent that had miraculously thrived for 17 years under office lights. Sarah from marketing paused by my cubicle, her expression tight with concern. "Violet, I just heard. This is absurd. You practically built this place." I shrugged. Companies evolve. But without any notice, after everything you've contributed, her voice began to rise, attracting attention. "It's fine," I said softly. Truly, it wasn't fine, but I wasn't going to create a scene. As I departed, Mr. Harrison emerged from his office to observe my exit. No farewell, no handshake, merely surveillance to ensure my departure. What none of them had bothered to recognize over the years was that I had become the most indispensable individual in the entire building. Not because I was extraordinary, but because I was meticulous. I documented everything, established robust audit protocols years ago to monitor unauthorized access at the legal team's request during a past incident. I also maintained copies in my vehicle. I sat for a moment, gazing back at the 12-story structure where I had spent the majority of my adult life. The security badge I had just relinquished had been reissued 16 times. I started the engine and drove home. They had no idea the upcoming day would be quite eventful. I had been with Stellar Innovations since it occupied just 2 floors in a business park, starting when my daughter, Lily, was in kindergarten. Now she was completing her graduate studies. The company expanded, and I grew with it, declining offers from competitors because loyalty held significance for me. My husband, David, used to jest that the servers were my second family. He wasn't entirely mistaken. I understood every system, every workaround, every hidden solution to issues the executives weren't even aware existed. The infrastructure I had constructed had endured 3 acquisitions and countless innovations that management embraced, then discarded months later. Mr. Harrison became my superior 5 years ago, a young MBA type who referred to our department as IT resources instead of people. He had notions of streamlining efficiency and digital transformation, buzzwords that typically implied accomplishing more with less. Initially, I attempted to help him grasp our systems, the intricate complexity buried beneath years of expansion and adaptation. "We need to future-proof," he would declare in meetings, looking directly past me. 6 months ago, he introduced a consultant named Marcus Thorne, expensive suit, firm handshake, Stanford degree prominently displayed on his LinkedIn profile. They would huddle in conference rooms, speaking softly whenever I passed by. 3 months ago, I observed subtle modifications to my access permissions, nothing overt, just minor adjustments to administrative controls. I could have protested, but instead, I watched and documented. "You seem preoccupied lately," David remarked one evening as we sat on the patio. "Is everything all right at work?" I nodded, sipping my drink. Just changes, nothing I haven't encountered before. But these changes felt distinct. I was being marginalized in meetings. Emails regarding system upgrades no longer included me. Younger team members were assigned to projects I would typically handle. Then I discovered it. A company-wide memo about modernization initiatives that had never been shared with me. It outlined a complete restructuring of the data department under new leadership, Marcus Thorne. My position wasn't even on the organizational chart. That same day, I uncovered something else while conducting a routine security scan. One of those background tasks no one else bothered with anymore. I noticed unusual patterns in our financial software. Regular transfers to a vendor I didn't recognize, Summit Solutions Group. A quick search revealed it was registered just last year, with a business address that led to a mail forwarding service. The authorized payments had started small, but were increasing each month. I said nothing, simply noted it, copied the records, and continued observing. Sometimes, the quiet individual in the corner perceives everything precisely because everyone assumes they see nothing. The morning after my dismissal, I sat in my home office, staring at my personal laptop. No alarm had roused me, no commute awaited, just silence and the weight of what had transpired. David brought me coffee, placing it beside me without a word. After 19 years of marriage, he knew when I required space. "I'm going to the store," he eventually said. "Need anything?" I shook my head. After he left, I unlocked the bottom drawer of my desk and retrieved a flash drive, one of several I kept secure. Company policies strictly forbade removing data, but years ago, when the legal team needed an audit system for tracking potential insider threats, I had been clear about needing off-site backups. They had approved it, then promptly forgotten. I plugged it in and began reviewing the files. Internal emails, meeting minutes I shouldn't have had access to, financial records that normal employees would never see. There it was, a full history of payments to Summit Solutions Group, nearly $1.8 million over 18 months. The approval chain led directly to our CFO, Mr. Davies. I delved deeper, cross-referencing dates and figures until the pattern emerged. The payments aligned perfectly with a series of software license renewals for systems we used company-wide, but the amounts were inflated, sometimes by 15%, sometimes by 20%. Small enough not to raise immediate flags, large enough to accumulate. I pulled up the business registration for Summit Solutions Group. The listed owner was Thomas Davies. A quick social media search confirmed my suspicion. Mr. Davies's brother-in-law. They were siphoning company funds through fake markups on legitimate expenses. I leaned back in my chair, feeling something shift within me. Not anger exactly, something colder, more focused. For 17 years, I had solved problems, fixed systems, protected data. I had been the reliable one, the steady presence who never caused waves, and they discarded me like outdated hardware. My phone buzzed with a text from Alex, a junior analyst I had mentored over the past 2 years. "Sorry about yesterday. Totally messed up what they did. Thorne is already moving into your old office." I set the phone down without responding. The pieces all fit now. Mr. Harrison and the CFO needed me gone before anyone could connect the dots on their scheme. They probably thought the evidence would vanish with me, that I was just some aging tech professional who didn't comprehend modern finance. I opened my email and began drafting a message to the board of directors, then stopped, my finger hovering over the send button. Too direct, too easily dismissed as the bitter accusations of a fired employee. I needed leverage, precision, a way to expose the fraud that couldn't be ignored or covered up. I deleted the draft and started making plans. Tomorrow was board meeting day. Quarterly financials would be presented. Bonuses would be approved. Perfect timing. I closed the laptop and walked to the living room window, looking out at the neighborhood where we had raised our children and built our life. For the first time since yesterday, I smiled. I sat in my car across the street from Stellar Innovations headquarters, observing employees stream through the revolving doors. In the passenger seat was my laptop, logged into an email account I had created years ago for security testing. One that appeared to originate from an internal company domain but wasn't tracked in the main directory. At exactly 9:15 a.m., I initiated my first move, an email to Mr. Harrison with the subject line, "Financial Irregularities, Urgent Review Needed," and a basic summary of what I had uncovered regarding the summit payments. I included just enough detail to be credible, but omitted the brother-in-law connection. If Mr. Harrison was involved, he would panic. If he wasn't, he would investigate. Either way, I would learn something. By 9:45, my phone rang. Mr. Harrison's number. I let it go to voicemail. His message was terse. "Violet, we need to discuss your email immediately. Call me back." I didn't. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop, set up my laptop, and waited. At 10:30, another email appeared, this one from Ms. Chen in HR. "Ms. Hayes, we've received concerning communication from you that potentially violates your separation agreement. Please cease all contact with Stellar Innovations employees and remember your confidentiality obligations. Any further communications may result in legal action." So that's how they were playing it. Threaten, dismiss, isolate. I hadn't signed any separation agreement. At noon, I drove to my bank and accessed my safe deposit box. Inside was another backup, older but containing critical information I hadn't included on my regular drives. Among the files were original security protocols I had designed, including documentation of who had access to what systems and when changes were made. According to these records, Mr. Davies had personally requested expanded access to the financial approval systems 18 months ago, precisely when the summit payments began. Back home, I found 3 more missed calls: Mr. Harrison, Ms. Chen, and now Marcus Thorne. I hadn't expected him to get involved so quickly. Interesting. I checked my personal email to find a message from Alex, marked urgent. "Violet, they're saying you sent some crazy email about financial fraud. Thorne called an emergency meeting. Everyone's talking. They're pulling your access to everything, even historical stuff. We need to do our jobs. What's going on?" Poor kid, caught in the crossfire. I sent a brief reply. "Don't get involved, Alex. Just watch." At 3 p.m., my home phone rang, a number I hadn't used for business in years. I picked up, but said nothing. "Violet, it's Mr. Davies." His voice was steady, controlled. "We should discuss your concerns. I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Is that what you call it?" I asked. "Look, transition periods are always difficult. If you have questions about company finances, there are proper channels, like the board." I interrupted. Silence. "Then the board doesn't need to be bothered with operational details. Why don't we meet tomorrow, just you and me? We can clear this up." "Sorry, I'm busy tomorrow," I said. "Besides, I think the board might actually be very interested in Summit Solutions Group and your brother-in-law." The sharp intake of breath told me everything. "You're making a serious mistake," he said finally. "We can make this right. Generous severance, references, whatever you need." "Goodbye, Mr. Davies," I said, and hung up. Within 10 minutes, Ms. Chen emailed again. Suddenly, my severance package had doubled, with an attached agreement requiring my complete confidentiality regarding all company matters. They were scrambling now, but they still thought they were dealing with a simple extortion attempt. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning brought clarity and confirmation. I had spent the night combing through years of data, connecting dots I had previously overlooked. The summit scheme wasn't Mr. Davies's first creative accounting project. 3 years ago, shortly after he became CFO, another pattern emerged: consulting fees to a firm called Horizon Business Solutions. Different name, same game, inflated invoices for services partially or never rendered. I traced the registration for Horizon. This one led to Patricia Davies, Mr. Davies' wife. The woman was apparently CEO of a company that had no website, no employees, and a virtual office address. But the bigger revelation came when I dug into email archives. Mr. Harrison hadn't just been aware of these arrangements. He had helped facilitate them. In exchange, his department received budget increases while others faced cuts. He had been brought in specifically because the previous director had started asking questions about IT expenditures. Even Marcus Thorne was connected. His consulting firm had been hired through an unusual process that bypassed normal procurement channels. His real role wasn't modernizing IT, it was eliminating the one person who might notice the financial patterns: me. The scheme was elegant in its simplicity: create legitimate-seeming vendors, approve inflated payments, and split the difference. Since actual services were being provided, just at marked-up rates, auditors scanning for completely fraudulent charges would miss it. Over 3 years, they diverted nearly $4.3 million. I gathered everything into a comprehensive report: spreadsheets showing the pattern of increases, business registrations linking the companies to Mr. Davies' family, email exchanges showing Mr. Harrison's knowledge and participation. Then I did something they wouldn't expect. I contacted Dr. Evelyn Reed, a board member I had worked with years ago during a security implementation. She was semi-retired now, but still attended quarterly meetings. "Violet Hayes," she said, answering on the second ring. "Long time. Heard you left Stellar Innovations?" "Not by choice," I replied. "Dr. Reed, I need 15 minutes of your time. It's important." Silence. This about why Mr. Davies and Mr. Harrison have been huddled together looking stressed? Board meeting was tense yesterday. "Probably." She chuckled. "Always figured you knew where the bodies were buried. Where can we meet?" An hour later, we sat in a park 3 miles from headquarters. I handed her a sealed envelope containing a printed summary and a flash drive. "That's everything," I said. "Dates, amounts, connections. I'm not looking for my job back. I'm not looking for money. I just want the right people to know." Dr. Reed studied me. "Why come to me?" "Because you actually read audit reports. I've watched you in meetings. You ask questions." She nodded slowly. "There's an emergency board session tomorrow. Finance committee review." "Convenient timing, Violet," she said, pocketing the envelope. "If this checks out, there will be serious consequences. I'm counting on it." As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from David. "Someone named Marcus Thorne came by the house looking for you. Said it was urgent. I told him you were out." They were getting desperate. Good. That afternoon, I received job offers from 2 competing firms, both for positions well above my previous role, both offering substantial signing bonuses. Word had gotten around about my sudden availability. I ignored them for now. This wasn't about finding another job. It was about finishing what they had started. That night, using credentials that should have been revoked but weren't, due to sloppy IT transition by Marcus, I accessed the company's email server one last time and scheduled a message to be delivered to every board member at 8:00 a.m. tomorrow. "Before you approve Q2 bonuses, read this." Attached was my full report. The following morning dawned clear and bright. I sat on my porch with coffee, watching the neighborhood awaken. No alarm clock, no commute, just waiting. At precisely 8 a.m., my scheduled email delivered its payload to the board members. By 8:17, my phone began to ring, numbers I didn't recognize, likely board members' assistants scrambling to reach me. I let them all go to voicemail. At 9 a.m., the emergency finance committee meeting would begin. Dr. Reed would be there with my documentation in hand, observing reactions as my email was discovered and discussed. At 9:32, Alex texted, "Police are here. Davies and Harrison being questioned in conference rooms. Thorne looking sick. What did you do?" I didn't respond. The wheels were turning exactly as I had anticipated. By 10:00 a.m., Stellar Innovations General Counsel called. Unlike the others, I answered this one. "Ms. Hayes, this is Attorney Graves from Legal. We need you to come in immediately to discuss information you've provided to the board. I'm available by phone, I replied. This really requires an in-person discussion. No, it doesn't, I interrupted calmly. Everything I know is in that report. Everything I have is already backed up in multiple secure locations. If anything happens to me or my family, additional copies go to the SEC, IRS, and 3 news outlets. Silence. Ms. Hayes, she finally said, her voice carefully measured. The board is taking this extremely seriously. They've already placed several executives on administrative leave pending investigation. They would appreciate your cooperation. I've cooperated fully by providing complete documentation. My part is done. After she hung up, I drove to a diner 20 miles outside San Francisco. No sense being easily found today. Over lunch, news began breaking on local business sites. Stellar Innovations executives under investigation for financial irregularities. No names yet, but that would come. At 2 p.m., Dr. Reed called. It's a bloodbath, she said without preamble. Mr. Davies confessed once we confronted him with your evidence, trying to cut a deal, blaming Mr. Harrison for pressuring him. Mr. Harrison's denying everything, and Thorne claims he was just a consultant who had no knowledge of financial matters. Board isn't buying it. We've suspended all 3 pending further investigation. The money? Forensic accountants are coming in Monday. Early estimates suggest at least $4.5 million diverted over 3 years, maybe more. I nodded to myself. I had been close. The board wants to talk to you, Dr. Reed continued, about coming back, not just to your old position. They're creating a new chief security officer role, reporting directly to the board. I had anticipated this possibility, but still found myself surprised. I'll think about it, I said. That evening, I told David everything. He listened without interrupting, then asked, What do you want to do? Good question. The revenge part was complete. The people who had pushed me out were themselves being pushed out, likely facing criminal charges. Justice had been served, cold and precise. But returning to Stellar Innovations meant walking back into the place that had discarded me after 17 years of service. Could I do that? Did I want to? I need time to decide, I said finally. Later that night, I opened my laptop one last time and posted a single message to my otherwise dormant LinkedIn profile. Never burn bridges. Just let them collapse under the weight of their own greed. Within minutes, former colleagues began reaching out. Word was spreading. The quiet data architect had brought down 3 executives without raising her voice. By Monday, everyone would know exactly who they had underestimated. Monday morning, I walked into Stellar Innovations headquarters wearing a suit I hadn't needed in years. The security guard did a double take, then quickly printed me a visitor badge. Welcome back, Ms. Hayes, he said with newfound respect. The elevator ride to the executive floor was quiet. I had never had reason to visit this level before. Now I was expected in the boardroom. 10 board members sat around a polished table. Dr. Reed nodded slightly as I entered. The interim CEO, previously the COO, looked uncomfortable. Ms. Hayes, she began, thank you for coming. The situation you've brought to light is unprecedented. I remained silent. The full extent of the fraud appears worse than initially reported, she continued. The forensic team has identified nearly $5.2 million in diverted funds. Criminal charges are being prepared. Still, I waited. Dr. Reed cleared her throat. Violet, the board has unanimously voted to create a new executive position, Chief Information Security Officer. Full executive privileges, reporting structure directly to the board. We'd like to offer you the role. I set my folder on the table. Inside, you'll find my conditions, I said, non-negotiable. The CEO opened it, scanning quickly. Her eyebrows rose. Full audit authority across all departments, independent budget, veto power on financial technology decisions. I nodded once. This is unusual. she said. So was embezzling $5.2 million, I replied. That happened because no one was watching. Now, someone will be. The room fell silent. You have until noon, I said, standing. I have other offers. As I turned to leave, Dr. Reed asked, Did you plan this all along, Violet? I paused at the door. I didn't plan to be fired after 17 years. Everything after that was just me doing what I've always done, identifying system vulnerabilities and implementing appropriate security measures. At 11:47, they called. They had accepted every condition. 6 months later, I sat in my new corner office, reviewing security protocols for the upcoming quarter. The view overlooked the San Francisco skyline, a daily reminder of how much had changed. Mr. Davies had pleaded guilty to multiple fraud charges in exchange for cooperation. He would receive a reduced sentence, still significant. Mr. Harrison was fighting the charges, insisting he was unaware of the scheme despite the evidence. Marcus Thorne had fled to Brazil but was being extradited. The money had been recovered, most of it anyway, enough that the company avoided serious financial damage. My former team now reported to me, though I had promoted Alex to run day-to-day operations. The kid had potential, just needed someone to see it. A knock at my door drew my attention. David stood there, smiling. Ready for lunch? He asked. I nodded, grabbing my jacket. As we walked through the data department, conversations quieted briefly, not from fear, but respect. These people knew what had happened, knew I could have destroyed the company instead of saving it. In the elevator, David squeezed my hand. Happy? I considered the question. The anger that had driven me those first few days after being fired had faded. What remained wasn't exactly happiness, more like satisfaction, completion. I'm good, I said. Outside, the autumn sun warmed our faces as we walked to a nearby restaurant. My phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Reed. Board approved your security budget increase. Unanimous vote. I smiled slightly. No arguments, no questions, just trust. David noticed my expression. What is it? Nothing, I said, sliding the phone back into my pocket. Just thinking about bridges. Some collapse under their own weight. Others, once repaired, become stronger than they ever were before. I'd built this one right this time. Lesson and message. This story teaches us the profound value of diligence, integrity, and self-worth. Even when faced with betrayal and injustice, maintaining meticulous records and upholding ethical standards can empower you to overcome adversity. It highlights that true strength lies not in seeking revenge, but in seeking justice and rebuilding with renewed purpose. The positive message is that your quiet dedication and expertise can ultimately lead to a stronger foundation, both for yourself and for the organizations you serve. When one door closes unfairly, another, often better, opportunity can open, proving that resilience and integrity always prevail.